What is going on, everybody? Back at it here with another New York Giants video. And in this video, to talk about another day of training camp leading up to Thursday night's preseason game against the New England Patriots. I'm going to go over the unofficial depth chart that was revealed today, including some injuries and some interesting things that happened in today's practice session. But before I dive into that information, folks, make sure to go check us out on all of our social media. You can see on our ticker below that includes Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. Make sure to hit the like button if you like what you watch here on the channel. And we are sponsored by BetUS. You can sign up with our promo code there below at Join125. Again, that is Join125. Get a 125% sign up bonus when you sign up with our link below. Appreciate all the support. Now, let's get into what's going on. So, today, the Giants officially signed Eric Smith, but more importantly, they released Matt Gono. Matt Gono is feared to have a career-ending neck injury. He was placed on the exempt left squad list last week. The Giants signed him back on March 11th after missing the entire 2021 season with an injury when he was a member of the Atlanta Falcons. So Matt Gono has been released. Eric Smith and Will Holden possibly battling it out for a swing tackle position. We also have to throw in Garrett McGinn as well, who the Giants signed from the USFL's New Jersey Generals team that did very well in its inaugural season. So those three players could be vying for a swing tackle spot. We know Josh Azudu has some versatility, but the Giants may view him as more of a guard. I'm not sure who the backup offensive linemen are going to be at this point in time. The only backup lineman that I could say I'm confident is going to make the roster right now is Josh Azudu, because then you look at guys like Jamil Douglas, Ben Bredesen, Will Holden, Eric Smith, as I just mentioned, right? Just to name a few. So it'll be interesting to see what the Giants do. And I'll get into the depth chart in a little bit, but more bad news for the Giants. It seems another day, another injury, right? I mean, we've dealt with several players already. Marcus McKeithen lost for the season. Another blow to the offense today. Undrafted rookie free agent out of Maine who was having an impressive camp up to this point. Tight end Andre Miller has a broken wrist. Had a good camp so far. He was working with the first team a little bit. And it's a real shame. He's undergoing surgery today, if it didn't happen already. Appears to be headed to IR to start the season. There's no mentioned timetable on his return, but Brian Daboll mentioned in an interview last week how he has good quickness and ball skills. He's been impressed. And, I believe he caught a touchdown at FanFest as well on a little play action boot. He's one of three rookie tight ends on the Giants roster. That also includes Daniel Bellinger, our fourth-round pick, and another undrafted free agent out of Nebraska in Austin Allen. So now the Giants tight end room looks like this following the Andre Miller injury. Daniel Bellinger, Chris Myrick, Jordan Akins, who we signed from the Texans, Austin Allen, as I just mentioned, and Ricky Seals-Jones, who missed his 8th consecutive practice today. He's also dealing with an injury issue. So you really narrow it down. The Giants are down to 4 healthy tight ends right now. Daniel Bellinger, Chris Myrick, Jordan Akins, and Austin Allen, all vying for roster spots. I'll talk about the unofficial depth chart for the tight end room and what it means, but this is a massive blow for the Giants losing Andre Miller. And I normally wouldn't say that as an undrafted free agent, but remember, the Giants tight end room is essentially starting from scratch. The only player in this tight end room that saw some time on the roster last year was Chris Myrick, who bounced back and forth between the Giants and the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's the news on the tight end room. There was a training camp fight today. Tempers flared up a little bit. It was but the incident began when running back Saquon Barkley plowed his shoulder into defensive back Aaron Robinson. Tate Crowder did not take that too lightly. He took issue to that hit on the ensuing play. Tate Crowder took his anger out on running back Antonio Williams, who spelled Barkley for a play. And next thing you know, John Feliciano, the Giants starting center, went after Tate Crowder and ended up on the ground. Punches were thrown. Cam Brown, we saw dragging Feliciano from the pile by his jersey. Brown and Feliciano were throwing punches at each other Coaches were involved. I heard Bobby Johnson got involved, shoving Tay Crowder, trying to defend his offensive lineman. But Brian Dable, while he wasn't pleased with the incident, as nobody should, he didn't, he didn't make the players run an insane amount of laps. He didn't, get too overwhelmed by it. He kept his cool. And for a rookie head coach, it's something you want to instill in your team. Like, yes, be aggressive, but don't encourage fighting at all. It risks injuries. And, these are grown men. They shouldn't be having temper tantrums on the field. But at the same time, when you go after a player on the offensive side of the ball, expect players to stick up for them. And the same thing goes for the defense, right? Tay Crowder trying to back up Aaron Robinson, and John Feliciano not too happy about the hit on Antonio Williams. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens come Thursday as I now dive into the unofficial depth chart that was released earlier today. Some surprises, some that I was expecting. But let's start out with the offense. Also, need I remind you all that if you haven't heard yet, offensive coordinator Mike Kafka will call plays in the preseason opener against the New England Patriots. So let's dive into the offense right now, and I'll kind of give my general thoughts as I share my screen here. But here's a look at the Giants offense. So no surprise. Scroll up to the top. Or actually, no, it starts with wide receivers. Okay. So Kenny Golladay, wide receiver number 1. No shocker. Wan'Dale Robinson is slated as a starting wide receiver, as you can see here, and so is Kadarius Toney. So those are your starting 3 receivers. As of right now, I'd expect Wan'Dale to be the number 3 guy in the slot and Toney to step in as the number 2. You look at reserves, it looks like Darius Slayton, Richie James, and C.J. Board are leading after that. This wasn't listed on the depth chart, but C.J. Board is likely – actually, no, it was. C.J. Board and Richie James are the most valuable special teams receivers on this depth chart. Board and James are both capable of returning kicks and punts. Darius Slayton, likely to be wide receiver number 4, but keep in mind – that he's been having drop issues in camp. And this has been an issue his whole career, despite 8 touchdowns in his rookie year. But he does have chemistry with Daniel Jones. And right behind that is David Sills, the 5th. Right now, I think he's the first receiver on the outside looking in. But if anything happens in training camp, I do think David Sills will be the next man up, followed by Alex Bachman, Colin Johnson, and Austin Prohl. Keelan Dawson has been having a good camp as well, but obviously, you could see he's on the 3rd string right now. Running back position. You got Saquon Barkley here, followed by Matt Breida, Gary Brightwell, who's had a good camp, and then Antonio Williams, who knows the offensive scheme, played for the Buffalo Bills last year. Jeremiah Hall is getting some reps at fullback, although I don't expect him to make the roster. I haven't released an official 53-man roster projection yet. I was kind of waiting for this to come out. I'll see what happens in the first preseason game on Thursday, and do a little 53-man roster projection before I go away this weekend. And then the offensive line, left to right, we have Andrew Thomas at left tackle, Shane Lemieux at left guard. That's the one, real starting position of question, right? Nobody's sure who's going to start there yet, but as I predicted, Lemieux should have the edge, and rightfully so. John Feliciano in at center, Mark Lewinsky in at guard, and Evan Neal in at right tackle. So center to right tackle features 3 new names compared to last year. All 3 of those positions were a struggle last season. And you look at the backups, I mentioned Josh Azudu has that versatility, slated as the backup left tackle and backup left guard. Most surprising here, Max Garcia all the way down to 3rd string right now. I'm not sure if that is performance-related or injury-related. I'm not very sure. Jamil Douglas is slated as the backup center at the moment. You see Nick Gates here. Doubt he's going to play for most of the season, if not all. Ben Bredesen slated as the backup right guard, and Garrett McGinn of the New Jersey Generals slated as the backup right tackle. So it could be something where neither Holden or Smith make the team because of how late they were signed. I do think Will Holden has a chance to make this roster and jump Garrett McGinn. but it'll left to be seen what happens in preseason. Tight end, as I was talking about, Daniel Bellinger, 4th-round rookie, right now is tight end number 1. Chris Myrick, tight end number 2. I like that a lot. He was a good player for us last year. Andre Miller was in there at number 3, which is a shame because now he's likely headed to IR, which will free up a roster spot for one of these 3 following players. Jordan Akins, who came over from the Houston Texans, as well as the Giants' new tight end coach, Andy Bischoff. So I think Jordan Akins will get a little bit of leverage there, followed by undrafted rookie free agent Austin Allen, and then Ricky Seals-Jones, who might get cut, honestly. Right now, it's not looking good. He's missed a lot of time in camp. He's very behind. So there's a lot of youth in this Giants tight end room. It's looking like Bellinger is going to be the starting tight end. Again, another prediction. And then, of course, quarterbacks, Jones, Taylor, Webb. That's pretty much it for the offense. I mean, the biggest injuries of note are Sterling Shepard and Nick Gates. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the New York Giants offense. And now let's move on to the defense. I mean, this is a little bit more cut and dry. No surprises here, really, although we could look into the schematics and discuss that a little bit to see what Wink Martindale's system is going to look like. So what's very interesting here about the New York Giants defense, and I'll just make it a little bigger so y'all can see it. Only 2 down linemen as of right now, according to this unofficial depth chart. Dexter Lawrence as the nose tackle, Leonard Williams as a defensive tackle. Giants look to be going defensive back heavy in this scheme. Remember, Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari are both capable of putting their hands in the dirt. They are listed as the 2 edge rushers. Blake Martinez is the number 1 inside linebacker. The will linebacker right now, number 2 interior linebacker, is led by Tay Crowder. But right now it looks like Carter Coughlin and Darian Beavers are listed as the next 2 in line. Interesting to see Darian Beavers above Cam Brown. And then Micah McFadden as well. I'll be honest, I think all 6 of these players wind up making the roster. I really do. I think Carter Coughlin was very impressive in preseason last year. He's worthy of a roster spot still. Beavers and McFadden, the 2 rookies who I think are going to be fine NFL caliber players. And Cam Brown is a special teams menace, and it was rumored that his role could expand beyond that this year. Austin Calitro likely on the outside looking in. And you know what? I did skip over the backups for Ojulari and Thibodeau. Jihad Ward, that's no surprise. O'Shane Ximenez, that makes a lot of sense, but I do think there's a chance that Roche and Smith could jump him. I only think the Giants will keep 5 at this position as of right now. I think the 5 will be Ojulari, Thibodeau, Ward, Smith, and Roche, with O'Shea Ximenez not making the 53-man roster cut. And then Tomon Fox at a UNC UDFA. So, although Jihad Ward can put his hand in the dirt as well, and then you see Jelly Ellis, I do think will make the roster. DJ Davidson, I am not sure. I'm surprised to see Nick Williams behind Jalen Holmes, although Holmes has been on the team longer. So I don't know who the backup interior lineman will be. I know Jelly Ellis will be in there. If they do put 3 down linemen, I do think Jelly Ellis will play in the middle with Lawrence and Williams to each side of him. So moving on to the secondary, and the Giants are thin in the secondary right now. Adoree Jackson and Aaron Robinson listed as the number 1 and number 2 cornerbacks. I don't think there's much competition there, to be honest with you. I think the competition is Darnay Holmes versus Cordell Flott for the slot. And Darnay Holmes, quite frankly, has had an interception pretty much every day of training camp, if not every other day. And I think he has that spot on lockdown once again. Now, he's more of a zone coverage corner. He doesn't really fit the scheme as well as Adoree and Aaron do. But I do think Darnay Holmes still deserves a starting spot on this team. And I do think his game could adapt towards some man coverage skills a little bit with Cordell Flott right behind them, who's impressed as well. I think those are the Giants' top 4 corners. And Rodarius Williams leads the pack right now, backing up both A-Rob and Adoree. I think the Giants will ultimately keep either 5 or 6 corners. With the way Wink's scheme is looking, I do think it could be 6, but Khalil Dorsey is the one player that has a lot of experience with Wink Martindale. I'm not sure what happened to Maurice Kennedy. I don't know if they cut him or not, or if he's just not listed here. Um, but yeah, a lot of these guys behind them are undrafted free agents or inexperienced players who have bounced around practice squads. Now, safety is where it gets interesting. Giants lost Jabril Peppers and Logan Ryan this past season. So that leaves Xavier McKinney as the starting free safety, the number one safety on this football team, and Julian Love entering his fourth year with Big Blue and in the NFL, playing on a contract year, might I add, is slated to start at strong safety. And that's well deserved for Julian Love. I've always thought he could be a good starter in the NFL. I think if Bill Parcells was still coaching today, he would love Julian Love. No pun intended. I like him a lot. I think he has decent coverage skills. I think he's going to be a starter. Dane Belton dealing with an injury. There's a chance he could be ready for week 1. So right now he is likely the third safety, and then Andrew Adams will be the other backup. If there's one of these guys here between Yusuf Corker, Trenton Thompson, Nate Metters, and Gerard Wilson who makes the team, I think Yusuf Corker is a name to watch. He's an undrafted rookie who has been somewhat impressive. Metters and Wilson were just added very recently. So that's the defense. Now, the special teams. And this last one will be very brief. There's not much to talk about here. We know who the starting long snapper, punter, and kicker will be. As you can see, Casey Kreider at the long snapper position. Jamie Gillen will punt and hold. Graham Gano will be the kicker. And here you could see why C.J. Board is likely to be wide receiver number 5 or 6 on the roster, his ability to return punts and kicks. And right now, Darius Slayton listed as the backup. I'm very surprised about that. Again, it's unofficial, so you can't put too much thought into it. Richie James, ultimately, I think, will be back there with him. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it for the New York Football Giants roster. Depth chart, I should say. So we went over the termination of Matt Gano's contract, Andre Miller breaking his wrist, the training camp fight, and the unofficial depth chart. Folks, I hope you all enjoyed this video here today. If you like what you watch, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Big Blue Avenue and follow us on Instagram and Twitter for live updates of your favorite football team, the New York Football Giants. Folks, my name is Tom Scavetta. Appreciate you all watching this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. And without further ado, let's go Big Blue.